consciousness. As stated in Prabhupada Lilamrita, consciousness among the hippies was a buzzword. I don't know how you translate buzzword into Indian languages. It was a word that was a lot in hippie parlance, with the idea that we have to expand our consciousness. And this is all very fresh, and the idea that our consciousness can come to another. It was a whole big cultural phenomenon, which has been written about in various ways. It was called the counterculture, because there were, again, American or Western materialism, the idea, get a big house, get a big car. It didn't happen in India yet. People are still fully into it. The idea of get a good job, earn money, have a good house, have a good car, and enjoy life. But there was this hippie counterculture, and there are all kinds of things going on. Books by, for instance, Bob Sang Rampa was explaining about Tibetan mystical experiences. It was complete bluff. He never had anything to do with Tibet, but he was just pretending. It was a Westerner pretending to be a Tibetan Lama. But it gave people the idea that, well, maybe we could do that also. And then their interest in Buddhism, and it's gone on now, and in the Western world Buddhism is established. But at that time it was fresh and new. And hippies started going to India and smoking ganja with the sadhus and Haridwar. So there was a lot of optimism that we'll come to a better level of consciousness, and we'll make the world a better place instead of all this meaningless wars. At that time there was the Vietnam War going on also, and the young men didn't want to get sent to Vietnam to get killed. It's highly likely you're going to get killed. They were being drafted. That means by force they were sent to fight. Why this? What's the point of this war? What is the aim and objective of the war? No one knew, but there's a good chance you come back dead. You get brought back with an American flag draped over your coffin. There ain't no time to wonder why, we're all gonna die. So there was this idea of Eastern spirituality and coming to a higher level, and mixed up with it was drug use and free sex. A common slogan at that time was "Make love, not war." And make love doesn't mean just feel nice towards others, but it means have sex. Make love, not war. And Srila Prabhupada came in the midst of all this. And after a short time of giving Krishna consciousness to others, he gave them charge of Back to Godhead magazine, which he had started in India, started and stopped, and now he wanted to continue it in the West, and he gave it to his Western disciples. And they had the idea to present Krishna consciousness in language which their contemporaries could relate to. So the first appeal in this advertisement for Krishna consciousness was stay high forever. In other words, you go up by Krishna consciousness and you don't come down again. You remain at a high level forever. And you don't need, that was a big thing. Many people would ask Srila Prabhupada, well, what about drugs? And Srila Prabhupada said, no, no drugs. You don't need drugs. They're not good. And many hippies had a hard time believing that because they thought, well, drugs are great. So stay high forever, no more coming down. Then the next line is practice Krishna consciousness. This term, Krishna consciousness. Again, now you're used to the term Krishna consciousness. You've heard it many times. Srila Prabhupada used this term. Maybe it was with respect to the talk of consciousness, higher consciousness, spiritual, a lot of talk of consciousness among the hippie. And Srila Prabhupada related that to the verse by Rupa Goswami, in which he talks about Krishna Bhavana. How does that verse begin? Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matihi Priyatang Yadi Kutopi Labhyate Tatra Mulyam Api Mulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukritaya Nalabhyate. An important verse from Rupa Goswami, which says that he's talking about Krishna Bhavana. So this translates as Krishna consciousness. So Rupa Goswami says that if Krishna consciousness is available anywhere, you should get it somehow or other. If it's available for sale, this was exactly the term here, then you should purchase it. And what is the price? The only price you can pay for it is greed to have it. And it cannot be had by any amount of pious activities even in innumerable births. So based on this, Srila Prabhupada had the term Krishna consciousness. Now, this was intriguing to the hippies because they knew the word consciousness, but they didn't know the word Krishna. And they were interested in all kinds of alternative consciousness. But it's something for India, from India. And at that time, they were interested in spiritual things from India. And there are so many Cheaters, 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 so-called gurus going from India to America. And some are very big and successful in attracting many young people to them. But they're all rascals and cheating people, not giving the real thing. But there was interest in that. So they stay high forever, no more coming down. Practice Krishna consciousness. Expand your consciousness by practicing the transcendental sound vibration. This word transcendental had been popularized by one guru so-called guru, who was popular in America, who was promoting what he called transcendental meditation, or TM for short. There was nothing transcendental about it. Some breathing technique and relaxation technique, and mostly what goes on in the name of meditation. You can have meditation courses, Vipassana, but it's all bogus, what they teach. Because if you really want to practice meditation, then you can't do it for 15 minutes in the morning. There's a whole lifestyle you have to have. You have to be a yogi. You can't have it 15 minutes in the morning so that you can relax and get charged up to go to work. or when you come back and just relax and for getting free from stress. This is all nonsense. But the word transcendental had been popularized. And it's an important word which we can use in English for describing the state which in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna describes Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjana, the stage of Nistraigunya, beyond the three modes of material nature. That means transcendental, above the modes of material nature. There's nothing below the modes of material nature. There are the three modes and there's above. You can't go below because anything in material consciousness is covered by the three modes of material nature. So expand your consciousness by practicing the transcendental sound vibration. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This chanting will cleanse the dust from the mirror of the mind and free you from all material contamination. Now here we see it's directly from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings in the first verse of Shikshashtaka. Then what is written, it is practical, self-evident, and requires no artificial aid. This is excellent. And this is how Srila Prabhupada was preaching. It is practical. Because if we hear about yoga practices, even at the time of Krishna, when he was speaking Bhagavad Gita, when he was here, Arjuna found the yoga system that Krishna taught him. In this, we find in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna found it impractical. Actually, it is. Unless you really detach yourself and really make a major change in your life to practice yoga as Krishna taught, it's not possible. But even then, it's not practical for the present age because it takes so much time. And again, it's not practical because Payana Payusha Sabya Alavasmin Yuge Janaha Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Hi Upadrutaha. Because people in Kali Yuga, their symptoms are they're short-lived, which means they can't practice yoga, which yoga meditation, just like we find various munis and yogis, they used to do for thousands of years. But if you only live for 60, 70, 80 years, how are you going to do it? So, Manda, the people are very dull. They're very dull-headed, bad luck, and their mind is always disturbed. So we can't do that kind of yoga. But it's impractical for us. But here, chanting Hare Krishna is practical. Next, self-evident. You do it, you'll get the result. You can find out easily. It's not something that you do some meditation, and after 20 years, if you meditate on the chakras within your body, after 20 years, you can whatever. No, immediately by chanting. It's self-evident, and it requires no artificial aid, no drugs. Try it and be blissful all the time. So this is very good advice and good preaching at any time. It's relevant also now. If we say, if you want to approach someone in Bengaluru in 2025 and go up to them and say, "Stay high forever, no more coming down," they may wonder, what are you talking about? Go to one of those high-rise buildings and get stuck in the lift. Maybe. What do you mean? But this, it is practical, self-evident, and requires no artificial aid. Try it and be blissful all the time. So this we can tell anyone, anywhere, anytime. You can be blissful all the time by chanting Hare Krishna. Now, the next line is turn on. This is taken from, I was mentioning this Timothy Leary, he was a Harvard professor who was experimenting with LSD and other psychotropic drugs. And he thought, hey, this is great. We should popularize this. For which he was removed from Harvard University, but he became a leader among the hippies. He's mentioned in the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, even though he was much older than most of them. He was older than, hippie age means under 30, but he was a Harvard professor. So his slogan was, turn on, tune in, and drop out. Turn on. Yeah, that's something like similar to raising your consciousness. It's a bit difficult to explain exactly what the idea is there behind that. It's not. It's a bit vague, but the idea is that you should again get your. Well, the idea is turn on, like they used to turn on television, for instance, and then all of a sudden there's nothing on the screen, and then there's something on the screen, and you have to turn it on. Nowadays, you don't turn on, that you turn a switch. Nowadays, you press a button. Or you don't use television at all. Television's out of date. You couldn't imagine that television would be out of date. But turn on, it means to all of a sudden there's something on your screen and you're getting some kind of experience. All of us. So turn on. And then after turn on through music, dance, philosophy, science, religion, and prasadam, spiritual food. So it sounds very intriguing to the hippies. Then turn on, tune in. This is again taken from outdated technology. Tune in means there used to be radios in which you get a radio set, you get a wireless set about this big. And like this. And then there's a band which you can see, and you have to fiddle with the switch, and according to the wavelengths, you pick up different radio stations. And there's short wave, medium wave, long wave, and you tune in. And if you can get tuned in on one station, and then you move the knob, and then you get to another station. And you can get different radio stations from different parts of the world. So tune in, that means everyone's on the same wavelengths. All the hippies are getting into the same wavelength. So tune in, get into this, get into the hippie vibe. That was what Timothy Leary was promoting. So tune in. It's just hippie slang, that's all. But it's being used to attract people to Krishna consciousness. Tune in, awaken your transcendental nature, rejoice in the ocean of bliss. Sounds good in 1969 and in 2025. The process of Sankirtan, chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, brings about transcendental ecstasy. So the word transcendental was known to the hippies. Ecstasy, yeah, not so well known, that word. Later they made a drug, or someone, later a drug called ecstasy. Not ecstasy. So here we have turn on, tune in, and then drop out. In hippie language, drop out means you leave mainstream society. Don't be part of it. Don't be part of this materialistic, completely unenlightened society. But here it's being said in Bhakti Course, drop out of movements employing artificially induced states of self-realization and expanded consciousness. Drop out of artificially induced states of self-realization. That again refers to drug use. The idea that you get self-realized by taking drugs. So drop out of that. And as Ravindra Swarup Prabhu and others noticed, well, especially he wrote in one article, that the hippies, first of all, they dropped out of mainstream society. And then to come to Krishna consciousness, they dropped out of hippie society. So they were double dropout. But it was, they dropped out, but they didn't drop, they went up. Of self-realization, drop out of movements employing artificially induced states of self-realization and expanded consciousness. Such methods only lead to spiritual laziness and chaos. Spiritual laziness and chaos. Laziness, that's a symptom of Kali Yuga, isn't it? It's a characteristic of the mode of ignorance, tamoguna. People want spiritual realization without undertaking the practices necessary. They want it very easily. Alasya, laziness. Spiritual laziness and chaos. Within our own minds, there's chaos from taking drugs. And to relate that to the teachings of Shastra, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidhingvina Aikantiki Hari Bhakti Utpatayaiva Kalpate. And he's supposed to be devotion to Krishna, which is not as ordained by Shastra, simply creates disturbance in society. Chaotic condition, when all kinds of things are promoted in the name of spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness. So it leads to chaos. Then more hippie talk. End all bring downs. Bring down. Bring down. I mean, it means something which brings you down. Again, this is referring to consciousness, something which brings your consciousness down. So end all bring downs, flip out. Again, it's hippie language. You could look it up. What does it mean exactly? Flip out means go, something like go crazy. It can mean getting very angry also. That was an earlier usage of it. But in hippie language, it means something like going crazy. And to be crazy in a hippie kind of way was considered lose control emotionally, often during shock, anger, excitement, or stress. Yeah. So people would flip out by taking drugs. They would lose control emotionally. But that was considered good in the drug-induced state. Flip out and stay for eternity. That means you flip out. You get out of. The idea is getting out of ordinary consciousness and getting in spiritual consciousness for eternity. I wonder actually if you ask the hippies, would they really like to be on a drug trip forever? Very intense experience. But their idea was that. Pray for eternity. Bhakti, continuing to read, Bhakti Yoga has been practiced for many centuries and is authorized by India's great acharyas. Acharyas, they wouldn't know what the word means. And even now, it's not. The term hasn't entered mainstream English as the word yoga has entered, guru has entered. You all know what acharya means. Everyone in India knows what acharya means. Kind of. It's like the word guru is known. It's known, but it's misunderstood. Uh, Acharya means one who should know Shastra and teach Shastra. Achinoti ashastratam acharyastapyatepi swayam achate yasmad acharyastena kirtitaha. The position of Acharya is very much connected with Shastra. He's collected all the conclusions of Shastra and teaches them by practice and precept. That means by achar, by personal behavior, acharan, and by pracha and speaking. So his vichar also has to be proper. This is an acharya. But the word is used in a conventional way to mean the head of a mat or someone who gives initiation or the head of an educational institution or it's a Brahmin surname. He may be driving a bus, but he's an archer. His name is Acharya. So they're conventional usages. So continuing reading this, Swami Bhaktivedanta. This is before Srila Prabhupada became widely known as Prabhupada. Swami Bhaktivedanta is in the bona fide line of Krishna's disciplic succession. And what that means exactly, the hippies wouldn't know, but it sounds interesting. But it would be intriguing. And even that idea is not known very much in India today. Anyone can pop up from anywhere and call themselves a guru. The idea that you're supposed to be in a disciplic line is hardly there. Anyone who can talk in an interesting way, which sounds to ignorant people somewhat spiritual, and get it out on YouTube, they become a guru. The principle of disciplic succession, Srila Prabhupada is always emphasizing this. That my authority is not my authority. It comes from Shastra and from the disciplic succession. He, referring to Srila Prabhupada, has especially come to this country to spiritually guide young Americans. I thought I'd share that with you. You're hearing so many talks from so many talkers about Krishna consciousness, and I thought I would share this with you. The amazing thing that Srila Prabhupada did in even thinking that such people could take up Krishna consciousness seriously, and doing whatever he had to do to bring Krishna consciousness to them. And at that time, there was no idea of Iskcon all over the world. There was no idea of having temples in what's this area of Bengaluru? HBR layout. There was no HBR layout at that time. This was fields. What were they growing? Jowar, ragi. What's the main crop around here? The main crop is software, I guess. Nowadays, but at that time, this was a long way from Bengaluru, maybe by bullock cart, which was the most common means of transport apart from walking at that time. It would take you maybe half a day to go there. Still, it takes half a day if you get caught in the traffic. Yeah. Now you have fancy cars which move at a top speed of 20 kilometers an hour. Yeah, it's changed so much. Bangalore used to be such a nice city, so we're told. Not now. It's another polluted city full of stress, and people are not happy. Even materially, there's no peace or satisfaction. Everyone's disturbed. But anyway, there was no idea in the hippies' minds of what was to come. Varnashram, communities, sets of Bhagavatam being distributed, Gurukuls. There's no idea of Gurukul in Iskcon today. Is there? Well, sometimes they open some schools, which they call Gurukul, but as Srila Prabhupada wanted it, practically it's almost non-existent. Srila Prabhupada had a great vision. The hippies could hardly imagine. They were just beginning. 1969. Who can think back to 1969? What about our Guru Prasad? What were you doing in 1969? What were you doing in 1969? Going to school? He was studying architecture, just completed architecture, so you're quite a bit older than me. In 1969, he's kid at school. That's all. Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada's first disciples came to London in the latter part of 1969. Never heard of Krishna. Even the idea that we're born again, I never even heard of it. I don't think I'd even heard of it at that time, of reincarnation. Nowadays, children growing up in the West, they might have heard of it. Quite possible. They don't take it seriously. People don't take it seriously in India either, even if they're Hindus. If they took it seriously, they wouldn't live life the way they do. People used to take it much more seriously. They used to be afraid of, as Srila Prabhupada writes in that purport to Bharata Bhumite Hoila Manusha Janmaja, in that purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that people in India are afraid of sinful activities like meat eating, gambling, intoxication, illicit sex. They're not afraid now. We're not afraid of sinful reaction. That's gone to a large extent. So there's a lot of work to do. Hare Krishna. Any question about this? There's a question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Danit Pranam. Maharaj, you just mentioned that Prabhupada, the vision that Prabhupada had for Gurukuls, that is non-existent in Iskcon now.
Largely, not much existent.
Okay, so what is Prabhupada's vision for Gurukul? How he wants it to be? I am from teaching background, so I'm just asking so that I can try to help my friends.
Well, I tell you what, I have a book which should be published in a month or so called The Mood and Mission of Srila Prabhupada, in which I've collected many, many instructions of him on many topics. You can see it in there. The basic idea is that young boys, not girls, should be trained in Krishna consciousness, according to the instructions of Prahlad Maharaj, Kaumara Acharat Pagyo Dharman Bhagavataniha Durlabhang Manusham Janma Tadapya Dhruvam Artadam. From the beginning of life, Krishna consciousness should be taught to young boys, because human life is very valuable in as much as we can pursue Krishna consciousness, but it's also very short. So they should be trained in Krishna consciousness, with the idea that in future they can be preachers of Krishna consciousness. No government curriculum. Prabhupada is very clear about that. Even when some of his disciples suggested introducing Prabhupada, said, no, never do that. Did you know that? No. Does anyone know it? No. Anyway, you might learn some things if you read this book. He referred to the mundane educational institutions of the kind that you teach in as slaughterhouses. So you are a butcher of a type. Yeah, it's slaughtering people from the very young age. Their spiritual consciousness is destroyed by education. It's not taught directly, but the idea is instilled that life is meant for working hard and making money and having a respectable middle class existence. That idea is instilled, along with neo-Darwinian evolutionary theory. And nowadays, in educational institutions, it's what they're teaching about gender and homosexuality is okay, and transgender is good. Not just okay, it's good, and really extremely demoniac what's coming in the educational system. If you're concerned about this, there's a new book by Rajiv Malhotra, who has written several books on various pressing issues in India today. So he just released a book. What's it called? Who is Teaching Your Children? And it shows the demoniac influence. I'm not sure if he uses that word. I haven't read the book. I just saw it. The demoniac influence of absolutely demoniac ideas that if someone is, which are taught in the West, and it's really messing up the West. But a child is born, boy or girl, you don't train to be a boy or girl. What is a boy and what is a girl? It's pretty easy, right? When the child is born, they see the genital and they mark in the birth certificate boy or girl. But they say no, gender is a social construct. So you teach children from the age of 5 even if you have the body of a boy, you can be a girl and you can have a sex change operation. And you're doing this. They're doing this. It's very, very demoniac, and they're bringing this into India also. You know about that? Maybe you're from an older generation. But it's bad enough even without that. With the children from the beginning of life, are they happy? Not the middle class kids, because they have so much pressure on them. What you're doing to your children is horrible, because you have to do it to be respectable. Forcing them to study and work, so much pressure. Many of them have psychological breakdowns, suicide. And what you're doing to your children is demoniac, actually. It's the culture, and you think it's good. It's not good. The whole civilization is... Srila Prabhupada had so many adjectives. Hog civilization, dog civilization, worse than animal civilization, demoniac civilization, Hiranyakashipu civilization, licking the vagina civilization. These are some of the things Prabhupada said. And you think it's good. Srila Prabhupada was a revolutionary. But it's good if he can save you from all these things. But you don't believe it. You want to have spiritual life and be successful materially also. It's very important that you have a good job and a good car and a good house and all the things that make you happy. And no one's happy. Anyway, don't worry. I'm leaving here. You can forget what I say, and someone else will come and make you laugh. That's the main reason to come to a talk in a Hare Krishna center, isn't it? You hear some nice talks, and then you laugh, and there's a few jokes, and that's the purpose of the talk, right? The good speaker is one who can tell a shlok, tell a joke, and then you feel nice, and you walk out. Hare Krishna. You have a question. How long are we going to go on with this? Yes. One last question. Okay.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances onto your lotus feet. My question is, these days, many parents are not willing to send their kids to Gurukul as the
No Gurukul to send it to anyway in the first place.
like I saw one Gurukul is there in Bhopal. I saw one Iskcon Gurukul is there in Bhopal or somewhere in the part of North India, where I tried to convince my own family, but they are like, no, my kids should be more materially
Yeah.
engaged, etc., etc.
So what's the question?
How to convince people to join Gurukul?
If you find out, let me know. It's called Matyana Krishna Paratasvatova. Krishna consciousness as much as I like it. All right, we'll finish there.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
All right, sounds like.
Maharaj here.
Who's speaking? Okay.
Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I had only one last question. Can I ask Maharaj?
That's a question already. See, I can make you laugh also.
Maharaj. Maharaj, my question was, we are very indebted to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. What we can do for them? What service we can do to please Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada?
You can ask your Guru Maharaj, whoever that may be.
And to Srila Prabhupada Maharaj?
Srila Prabhupada by following his instructions.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, even that.
Hare Krishna. So we just heard from Maharaj, and he was stressing this point, staying high forever. So there are several ways Maharaj was discussing in the lecture, and one of the ways is hearing talks like this, just like the one we heard. So Maharaj has been traveling and preaching for more than 40 years throughout the world, and he has been lecturing on so many topics. And he just finished his commentary, is the world's first commentary, English commentary on entire series of names in the Vishnu Sahasranama.
Well, it's not the first one, but it's the first of such an extensive one. Yeah, it's quite extensive.
Yeah. So it's very extensive. Each and every name has been extensively commented upon, and different commentaries have been consulted. So there's that, and there is a lot of other lectures in Hindi, English, and Bengali. And the app is called Bhakti Vikasa SwamI app. It's a free app. We'll give you the cards, and the app now also has the transcripts of entire lectures, and books are also there. You can search just like you search in a database. So all that you can do just inside of the app. You don't need any other system. So please get the app. It's really advanced, and it's you can find out whatever you're looking for related to a particular topic. You can search inside of the audio files. There's a lot of features which are very exclusive to this app. So please get it. We'll give you these cards. There's another announcement. There's a documentary series that is being released. It's called God, Science, and Atheism. And Maharaj has taken the arguments of all the best atheists, the best arguments of all the best atheists, like Richard Dawkins.
They don't have any good arguments.
They don't have.
But it sounds convincing to many, yeah.
So the seemingly best arguments that all the best atheists have, like Christopher Hitchens and Sam Harris, and they have been systematically dismantled in this series, God, Science, and Atheism. So the first episode of the series is launching next Friday. We have these cards about the series also. So please, we're going to distribute it to all of you. So please watch it. Please share it. It's a nice preaching tool. You can share it with your friends, relatives also, and it will definitely be very helpful. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for today's this discourse.
What a wonderful journey for all of you for being in Krishna consciousness and bringing others to Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Already touched.
It's a very wonderful discourse where you give a synopsis of this the article of Still High for Over. So who can give this synopsis better than the one who has witnessed the era of stormy preaching, where the whole world was mesmerized by the Hare Krishna movement. So we are very thankful to you, Maharaj. This 50 years of service to Srila Prabhupada since 1975 to 2025. So, Maharaj, yeah, of course, you said this is very stormy preaching, but we were waiting for you to do this tough and very strong words, and of course, we love you for your the strong words and very straightforward preaching. And yes, we were waiting for you for this.